Evening, everyone, from Fighting for My Life series. I want to challenge you, friend, to step up to your life. And whatever I share about is something that God is inviting me to do. And most often, after I share something, I'm truly challenged about it. And my channel is to encourage and inspire, just to be an encouragement to keep moving forward in our lives. I was just thinking about this, that if you're unhappy with your life, then you can do something about it. If you feel like you're stuck, you know, God said that we were so precious that if it were only me and only me or only you, God would have come and he would have laid down his life, knowing the joy that was before him. And we thank God that he rose from the dead, conquering death on his tree of sacrifice. God says we're so precious, and he's inviting us and he is admonishing us to wake up from our slumber. Are you stuck, friend? Are you stuck in your life? If you're stuck, it's possible that you're in a victim cycle. And the only way out of the victim cycle is to choose to make up your mind to step off of that cycle and out of that cycle. And if we don't come into the dreams we have in our heart, if we don't come into our destiny, it's because of ourselves. We are stopping ourselves from moving forward. And God took up our sin, our sickness, our disease, all of it on that tree of sacrifice so that we could live a fulfilling life, be with him for heaven, in heaven, first of all, and second of all, to come into all the reasons we were each created, one of a kind mold. Let's not throw our lives away by sleeping our lives away in slumber. Yes, there is a time for everything. There's a time for every purpose and season under heaven. As it says in Ecclesiastes, there is a time for mourning, for dancing, for war. There's a time for peace. There's a time for hate. The word even says that. There's a time for everything. But are we in the time right now that we're supposed to be? Are we living a life that's designed for how it's supposed to be right now? Are we in the will of God in our lives right now? Are we in the relationships that God has for us? It's good and healthy to examine our lives, absolutely, to evaluate. We can spend our time scrutinizing other people's lives, which is not our job, and we're in sin when we do that, in judgmentalness. But God calls us to look at our own lives. Let's judge our own lives and make sure that we're living a good and upright, holy, and a life of integrity before God. And we can do that with Yeshua living and breathing and having his being through us. Just some things to think about. Are we occupying? Are we living the life God has called us to live? Are we in a victim cycle? Are we feeling sorry for ourselves? Are we stuck? There's no one to blame. If you don't like your life, change it. Start, I'm not saying it's easy. And yes, there's a time some of us are grieving loved ones, absolutely, and we have to grieve. Grieving is a part of life, absolutely. But if you're stuck, there's grieving, and then there's a spirit of grief, which is a spirit that oppresses. Anything that oppresses is negative. I lost my dear, late, beloved Gilly Grant on September 21st, 2018. And I needed to grieve, but then there's also a spirit of grief that can oppress you. That's a familiar spirit. It's a spirit that wants to keep you down. It's not godly. It's not of the Lord. We're being influenced by lies that we believe. We've made room for ungodly spirits. We don't know it. We don't do it on purpose. Otherwise, we wouldn't do it, right? But we can be deceived, and we can be listening to lies. And so a friend of mine spoke with me, and she shared with me about some things. And I did get to a place, and God brought me to a place where I said, help me to let her go. Help me to release her to you. And then the process really began to take place. And there is a grieving process, and we must grieve, absolutely, because we don't want to carry that into the next relationship and the next relationship. We don't want to carry this as baggage. We want to be whole, healed, and restored in Yeshua's name. And with God, we can be, because He undergirds us and He gives us the courage to face our hearts. Absolutely. My greatest weakness, which was I was completely detached from my heart, has become my greatest strength. And I am an advocate of the heart, of embracing one-of-a-kind you. We're not just spirit. We live in a body. We have a soul. We have emotions. They're important. At the same time, we don't want to be deceived, but our emotions are very important. Don't let anyone minimize your heart. Understand, it's if they do that, understanding is very helpful. It's because they minimize their own, because they're cut off, shut down from their own hearts. Not acceptable for my life. Absolutely not. I won't allow anyone to do that to me. I won't allow anyone in my life and relationship to disrespect me in that way. But it's good for us to understand. And many of us have been minimized because the other person shut down. So it's not personal, although it can feel that way. Let's do our own work. Let's take responsibility for our lives. Let's wake up out of our slumber. We sleep during the night, but let's wake up from our slumber, and let's arise. Let's step into our life. Let's step up to ourselves, to God, and to others today. Let's come to God with a full beating heart, fully alive to ourselves, to God, and to others. God bless you from His city, Yerushalayim.